I'm curious on the mission statement of the Daily Wire. Is the goal to hopefully change the opinions of the political adversaries, maybe the people that don't necessarily agree with your philosophies, to get in more alignment with your moral standards and philosophies and political leanings and stuff like that? So everyone kind of believes more so what you believe to be the ethical standard.
I mean, listen, ideally, I'd love to convince everybody that I'm right. That would be wonderful. But I think that the reality of life is that, like any market, there are the people who are implacably opposed to you. You're not going to be able to do a lot with that. There are people who are apathetic. You may be able to convince some of those people to come along. There are people who are sort of in the middle and looking at both sides. Those are the people who I hope I'm really aiming at. And then there's your base, which are people who already agree with you. So like 3 out of those 4 kind of contingents are available to me. The people who are implacably opposed, like to the point where they think I'm Hitler or they think that I'm the root of all evil in the universe, I'm not worried about convincing those people because nothing's going to change there. I'm not banging my head against a wall. I say this all the time. People ask me like, what about this cousin who argues X, Y, and Z, and it makes me so mad? And I always ask them, like, what's the purpose of the conversation? Start with that. What are you seeking to achieve in the conversation? And again, it sounds very cold and clinical that way, but the truth is that you can think about most conversations in life that way. And if you start thinking about even personal conversations that way, sometimes it's really, really useful. And I remember that I've told this story 1,000 times, but it's a good marriage story. You know, my wife would ask me for years. She would come and she'd complain about a thing. And I would make the mistake of trying to solve the thing. And she'd get mad at me because she doesn't want the thing solved. What she wanted was sympathy. What she wanted was a kind ear to listen to the thing, which, as you might expect, is not my easiest thing. And so at a certain point, I said to her, listen, I need you to do me a favor. I don't speak this language, so I'm going to need you to do me a favor. When you start saying a thing that's bad, is this a solutions conversation or is this a sympathy conversation? I'm just going to need to ask that, not because I'm being a jerk, but because I actually want to know so that we don't keep running into this. So she'll tell me, like, she's good about this. I'll say to her, like, do you want me to like provide solutions here? Because I'm happy to blue sky this thing. Or do you want to talk about, you know, like how this makes you feel? We can do that too, but I just need to know which one of these things it is because I'm not good at reading this. And I feel like that was very productive. That's true for a huge number of conversations, and it's true politically as well. This is why when people will say, well, how do you debate? It depends. Is it a debate? Is it a discussion? Who's the audience? What is the end goal here? And there's certain debates, like public debates, where it's not a discussion. The person isn't open-minded. It's just an attempt to establish clarity of the point of view. And that's where you get, you know, the Rex kind of moments, like Ben Shapiro Rex or something. But that doesn't mean you have to be rude or mean or something. It just means that you have to, you know, go in knowing that it's going to be oppositional. That's a very different thing because you're not talking to this person. You're talking to these people out here, right? That's a different thing. And then you're talking to the crowd, which is a speech, and there you try to actually convince, hopefully. And then there are conversations with people who disagree where it's both. You're trying to clarify and convince and maybe change your own point of view. Those are the conversations I enjoy the best. And those are actually the ones I do the most just in terms of the time spent. If there's one area where I feel like the show and what we do at the Daily Wire is underappreciated, it's that. And we have on more guests, I personally have on more guests who disagree with me than I think anyone else in political talk, probably. I've had on people who are rabid atheists, and we have very wide-ranging and I think cogent conversations. I'll have on people who are socialists, and we'll have wide-ranging and cogent conversations like that. Like, I like doing that kind of stuff, but that's a different conversation than the person who comes in ready to swing at you.
It does seem as though the right in general has become a lot trendier, or I feel like social media is beginning to steer in that direction. Why do you think that is?
Because it's countercultural. So for a long time in this country, the right was the culture, and then the left was the counterculture. And so all the kids were like, the counterculture. And now the counterculture has become the culture. The traditional values have become something that you have to whisper to your friends about. Right? To say that, for example, heterosexual marriage is more societally valuable than homosexual marriage, which was inarguable for literally all of human history. And by the way, on a utilitarian level, remains inarguable today. To say that sort of stuff, everybody cringes. Except for all the people who are like, that actually is true. And I can't believe that people are saying that. And when you're like 15, 16 years old, there's something very attractive about people saying things that's true, especially if you've been told that you're not allowed to say it. Now, it's easy to mix that up, and this is one of the problems that you see on the right sometimes. It's easy to mix that up with just being oppositional for the sake of being oppositional. So there's a difference between saying things are true. I've said this before. There's a difference between offending people by saying things that are true and offending people because you're being a jerk. That's not quite the same thing. And I think that I think everybody has a tendency, because human beings are reactionary, to be like, oh, it pisses those guys off, it must be amazing. And so it makes it difficult to distinguish between people who are saying things that are untrue but piss that side off, and people who are saying things that are true and well thought out and piss that side off.